everything I want to say to a woman, but I couldn't find the words to say. She got whatever it is, I don't know what to do.
All right, another law enforcement officer has been gunned down following a string of attacks across the country. Yesterday, Sheriff Eugene Crum of Mingo County, West Virginia, was shot in his car outside of a courthouse. Crum had a reputation for cracking down on drug dealers. The latest murder comes after a Texas DA and his wife were murdered in their home just last weekend, and after Colorado's prisons chief. He was killed 2 weeks ago. Investigators are looking to see if there is a connection between the cases, and meanwhile, a federal prosecutor in Houston, Texas, was just quit on a major case against the Aryan Brotherhood there. Jay Heilman is worried that he could be the next target. Texas taking this very seriously. Let's go to a soundbite first from Governor Rick Perry in Texas, who's at a memorial today talking about some reward money for any tips that lead to an arrest. Listen.
These are heinous crimes, and they've affected not just Texans, but people across the country who respect the rule of law, because these are truly direct attacks on the core of our civil society, the rule of law, and the fact is we cannot react with fear. We got to react with resolve.
All right, Kimberly, we're glad to have you walk us through this, because if you are investigators in the various states, 3 states, West Virginia, Colorado, Texas, nobody is saying there is a direct connection, but they are looking at it because it does seem plausible. What do you think?
Well, and it makes sense, too, because they're developing certain theories of investigation, how there might be a connection, some kind of plausible connection. Maybe there's a connection between killings in Colorado and killings in Texas, but not in West Virginia. They have to develop this based on the information they're getting. In particular, the one gang, the 211 crew, which is connected with the white supremacist group and the Aryan Brotherhood, they believe to be right now one of the initial suspects, and they have 2 individuals that they think could be responsible. So one of the things about the Aryan Brotherhood is they are known for putting hits out on officials, whether it's judges, whether it's DAs, things like that.
You know a little something about that.
Well, they put one out on me. So when I was trying the dog mauling case, which was a case where the Aryan Brotherhood was working very closely with the Mexican Mafia, they were providing and training dogs for the Mexican Mafia to guard methamphetamine labs down in Southern California. People think, oh, it's just white supremacists. No, it's one of the most skilled and organized prison gangs that you could ever come across. There are units of the Department of Corrections devoted entirely to investigating this group. The reason why they've been able to be so successful is they don't have people from outside the gang. They develop it solely inside the prison system so that you can't get an informer from the outside to tell. And if somebody tells on them, they not only execute you, but your whole family. That's a deterrent for snitches not to say anything. So it's very difficult to penetrate, you know, their organization, and that's why right now they're looking at them. They're very active in that area.
One of the possible links, as Kimberly mentioned, the Mexican Mafia or Mexican drug cartel. So there is an FBI report that says that they do think that the Aryan Brotherhood, through the prison system, is perhaps working and carrying out things out of Mexico. What do you think?
I think there's another sub-story going on here that's really, really important. You can probably weigh in on this. The prosecutor who said, you know what, this is getting a little too dangerous for me. Prosecuting the Aryan Brotherhood after what's going on, I'm off that case. It seems to me if we allow that, if that's the way it's going to go forward, don't the criminals, don't the bad guys win?
Yes. But that's what they hope. In my case, they put the contract out to have me killed. It was intercepted in what's called a kite, which is a communication to the outside. And then they came and told me, and I had to live with 2 guards in my room, bulletproof vests, bomb-sniffing dogs. It was a very serious situation.
Do you think the guards sent this letter?
So they could sleep in my room at night?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe so.
But,
maybe so.
But, about that, Bob, what do you think in regards to these prosecutors and law enforcement? If you are the sheriff, like in West Virginia, do you need a security detail in addition to being a sheriff, an armed person?
Well, the one thing that does have a string through all this is drugs. I mean, whether it's in all these cases, these guys were involved in either prosecuting or, in this case, the sheriff coming down hard on drugs. And you know, from motorcycle gangs, the Blood and the Crips, who make their money by running methamphetamine, which is the key drug in all this, out of prisons, they control that sort of thing. And there's a lot of money involved in it, and they want to scare people off. Like Eric says, don't they win? Yes, they win, because look, what have they done now? We've got 3 maybe isolated murders, but it scared the hell out of enough people. They're saying, I don't want to get near it.
Well, let's ask Greg about that point about the underlying thing. But one thing we know is that there's 3 connections: illegal drugs, were involved in all three, and illegal guns in all three.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to look for a comparison to the past, and you think about prohibition, and the only way to put the bootleggers and the Al Capones out of business was basically by repealing prohibition. And if we were to decriminalize, would we put these dangerous gangs out of business? They are actually worse and more dangerous than Al Capone ever was, and they're getting worse. These Mexican gangs in Chicago are turning Chicago into a war zone, and then you have prisons which are essentially assembly lines of thuggery. That's where you go to become a better thug. So all we're doing is we're just creating this endless cycle. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is what I find interesting is there's no old members of these gangs. It's like the mafia. You'd see the mafia. They'd have guys in their 60s or 70s walking around in tracksuits. Where do the gangs go at 30? Are they dead and buried?
Can I point something out? Also, these guns were illegal. These
Right.
guns that we use were. So are we really going to say, America, we're going to disarm you legal law-abiding citizens when all these nutjob thugs, assembly lines are going on?
Get a legal gun.
Please,
Yeah.
let's have more people on the other side of the door, on the good side of the door, armed so that the criminal doesn't know whether or not he goes, ding dong, you're dead. It might be ding dong, you're dead.
Yeah.
And maybe that is
Or boom,
the
boom.
answer to the transition to maybe a different policy set of laws, which would be legalization. All right, interesting.